I shut down the road. No warning, no sign, just a solid wall of concrete barriers and a big old private property sign nailed to a fence post. The only road that led in and out of that shiny little HOA neighborhood was mine, and I'd had enough. You should have seen Karen's face. Red as a fire truck, hair still in curlers, marching up to my gate with a horde of confused neighbors behind her like she was leading some kind of suburban rebellion. "You can't do this," she screeched, clutching her phone. "You're cutting off an entire community." I stood on my porch, arms crossed, boots planted firm, coffee still warm in my hand. "This road's on my land," I said. "You shouldn't have tried to steal it." And that's when she dialed 911, fingers shaking, voice trembling with rage. I leaned forward, gave her a slow smile, and said, "Please do." Because every inch of what I did was legal. But before we get to cops, lawsuits, and a development company that thought it could buy off everything I stood for, let me take you back to when all this started. My name's Grant Callahan. I'm 42, divorced, got a daughter in college, and a ranch that's been in my family for nearly 100 years. 12 acres of pasture, oak trees, a few goats, and peace, real peace. I moved here after my uncle passed, left the chaos of Austin behind, and figured I'd write code by day and fix fences by sunset. It was working out pretty well, until the HOA showed up. They built a gated neighborhood called Silver Pines right next to my land. Big houses, fake lakes, fancy signs. Their only access to the highway? A single road Larkspur Drive that cut straight through the far edge of my ranch. Now, here's the kicker. That road sits on my land. Always has. The developers had a temporary easement from my uncle that expired the day he died. But nobody seemed to notice or care. At first, I let it slide. Road barely touched the property, and I figured, hey, be neighborly. Then came the letter. It was from Karen Delaney, president of the Silver Pines HOA. Full name printed in bold. Sent certified. It read, and I quote, "We've noticed several unsightly structures and rusted vehicles on your property. As part of our beautification initiative, please remove these eyesores within 14 days or we will report you to the county." She was talking about my barn. A barn that's older than her entire subdivision. I laughed. Tossed it. A week later, a sheriff knocked. Apparently, Karen filed a formal complaint. Said my property was lowering home values. The deputy was polite, even a little embarrassed. Told me he had to check it out, but it was clearly outside HOA jurisdiction. Still, the message was clear she wanted control. 2 months later, the real gut punch came. A letter from the zoning office. Someone had filed a request to rezone a portion of my ranch for community infrastructure. Meaning, they wanted to take my land. And guess who filed it? Karen. That's when I called my attorney, Shayna Greaves. Land use specialist, tough as Texas heat. We went over the deed, found the expired easement, and Shayna just smiled. "Grant, you could block that road today. Legally." But I didn't, not yet. I wrote a polite letter to the HOA, offering to renew the easement for a modest annual fee. Just fair compensation. Karen? She called me a blackmailer at a board meeting. Got on a megaphone and told residents I was holding their community hostage. I gave her 30 days notice. And when that ran out, I brought in the barriers. Concrete blocks. Warning signs. Security cameras. I didn't sneak around. I did it all by the book. Karen lost it. Cops showed up. 3 cruisers. Blue and red lights flashing down my fence line. I handed them the notice, deed, everything. Deputy Hartman, local guy, nodded and said, "Looks legal to me." Karen screamed that it was an emergency. He calmly pointed to the old gravel trail on the backside of the neighborhood and said, "That's a public path. You're not trapped." Someone in the crowd yelled, "I used that road last week. It's fine." Karen glared. But I knew it wasn't over. 3 days later, I found tire tracks in my pasture. Side gate cut. 1 goat limping. Security footage showed 2 people trying to move the concrete barriers. I called the sheriff again. Sent it to Shayna. "They're testing you," she said. "And when people like Karen lose control, they go underground." Sure enough, a week later I got sued. The HOA claimed part of my deed was invalid, that I never legally inherited the strip with the road. Said it was improperly transferred. Their goal? Seize it through the courts. Shayna hit back hard. We pulled the original land survey, my uncle's will, even a notarized letter from the developer at the time acknowledging the easement's expiration. But then came the whistleblower. A man showed up one morning at my gate, handed me a folder, and walked away. Inside, Emails. Screenshots. Karen had been secretly negotiating to sell off a section of HOA green space to a development firm called Arcadia Rise. She was using a fake LLC to funnel the deal, pretending she personally owned the land. It was fraud. Real estate fraud. Shayna said we had two choices: go to the police or go to the people. So I hosted a barbecue. Yep. Real old-school Texas barbecue burgers, lemonade, goats wandering around. I had Cole, a young guy from the neighborhood, quietly slip flyers into mailboxes. Come see what your HOA president isn't telling you. Dozens showed. Curious faces. Kids playing tag near the fence. And once they were settled, I stood up on a crate and told the truth. I passed out copies of the emails, the fake LLC filings, the development plan. Told them what Karen was doing. What she almost pulled off. Debbie, an older lady who'd lived there for years, stood up and said, Karen told us that land was protected, that we paid extra dues to maintain it. Another man held up a phone. She's been paying consultants through HOA funds. Look at this. The crowd turned. Right there, under that old oak tree, the neighborhood started to fracture. Karen? She filed a restraining order the next day. Claimed I was inciting chaos. We took 40 neighbors to court with us, each holding proof. The judge tossed it out in minutes. But Karen lost it right there in court, screaming at the judge, calling everyone traitors. That was when the county investigator took notice. And that's when she ran. Karen disappeared. No calls. No meetings. Her house sat empty. Turns out she skipped town and checked into a wellness spa in Nevada under a fake name. Got recognized from a news story and arrested. Shayna called me laughing. She made it to Nevada just to get cuffed at a yoga retreat. But the mess she left behind wasn't funny. Arcadia Rise sued the HOA for breach of contract. Tried to pin everything on me, too, claimed I poisoned the deal, incited distrust. Shayna countersued. We formed a coalition of residents. Gathered declarations, proof that Karen acted alone. Then one night, something strange happened. I got a letter. No return address. Just a name, Karen Delaney. It said, you beat me fair. I lost everything. Maybe I needed to. If you ever sell that land, please, don't let them build on it. I'm sorry. I folded it quietly. Placed it in a file marked Karen closed. But one last thing before all this ended, I did something no one expected. I rebuilt the road. Put down new gravel. Solar lights. A handmade wooden gate. Then I gave shared access back to the HOA under a new contract. 30-year renewable easement, unanimous vote required, strict anti-development clause. The residents cried. Hugged me. We had a cookout that weekend again. Only this time, no secrets. No lies. Just families, music, laughter, and peace. I still get letters from people asking if I regret any of it. And honestly, no. Because standing your ground isn't just about fences or surveys or deeds, it's about knowing when enough is enough. So let me ask you, what would you have done? If someone tried to erase your family's land, your history, your name, would you fight back? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. And don't forget, never mess with a rancher who knows the law.